Calificas para ser legal, quieres saber, solo llama al abogado Andrés Mejer.
So, let's talk about George. Now, George last week had a trial on cancellation removal. Now, like many of our clients, they first start with another attorney or a notario who screws up their case, and then they come to us. So in George's scenario, he should never have been put in removal proceedings. When he filed, he had 3 U.S. citizen children, that's correct. They filed for asylum. He didn't have a solid claim for asylum. And the way the petition was prepared was crap. They just said, I just want to be put in removal proceedings. So in the context of George, what he needed to do is say, listen, I'm afraid to go back to my country. Why am I afraid? Or because something bad happened to me already, or I have a really good reason to suspect something bad will happen. By whom? Who's the actor? Government or a group the government can't control? And why? Why did something bad happen by the government or the group the government can't control? And it has to be for a protected reason. Race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or particular social group. Has to be one of those 5. In George's scenario, he filed asylum. It was not well documented at all. It was not well presented at all. His attorney told him not to go to the hearing, and he didn't, and neither did his attorney. He was placed in removal proceedings. Now, here's the problem. So now he's going to go with the intention of proving cancellation of removal. So some people call it the 10-year law. There really isn't a 10-year law. It's a defense to deportation. But it's not just 10 years. There's 4 requirements. 1, in the U.S. more than 10 years. 2nd, good moral person. 3rd, not convicted of a crime that would disqualify you. And the kicker is 4, extreme and unusual hardship to a qualifying relative. That could be a parent, could be a spouse, or it could be a children. Now here he has, his wife is undocumented, and he had 3 U.S. citizen kids. Problem is, when he started that process, he didn't have extreme and unusual hardship. His 3 kids were healthy. None of them were under care of a doctor. They weren't taking any medicine. They had no emotional problems. They had no financial problems. George is a really good businessman, and he's opened multiple businesses, and he does very well for him and for his family, but he didn't have extreme and unusual hardship. What the attorney did was malpractice. Should never have put him in that scenario. But the process took so long. 7 or 8 years later, his middle child was diagnosed with a learning disability. He had what's called an IEP, Individual Education Plan. So school was giving him services, psychologist, therapist, occupational, speech, a variety of different needs. That lasted for 3 years. Then the school said, he's now up to snuff. He had certain challenges. He's overcome those challenges. He doesn't need it now. Uh-oh. What do we do? Had extreme and unusual hardship, then didn't have extreme and unusual hardship. So we argued, listen, he's being evaluated. This may change at any time, just like it changed before. It could change again. He's still growing. We also showed that he was here for 10 years. Tax returns, businesses. Look, he has 1 child who's 20 years old. So he was here at least 20 years ago. So his testimony, affidavits, the fact that he was here for 10 years, not hard to prove. Good moral person, well, and no disqualifying crime, that's simple. We get a background search and we show that he's not been convicted of anything that would disqualify him. Extreme and unusual hardship, well, how do you prove that? Every case is different, but there's many factors, but there's 3 principal ones: financial, emotional, medical. So we're talking about a scenario where I'm deported. I'm going back, in my case, to Chile. My children either stay here or come with me. And I have to show how they're gonna suffer, in this case my wife, how my wife and my kids are gonna suffer if I'm in Chile. So if I get deported and my kids come with me, well, here they have their US citizens, they have insurance, they have treatment, they have good doctors, they have good hospitals. If there's a problem, they have an opportunity to have it fixed here, where in my country, they may not have access to those things. In the context of a learning disability, well, look, it's not that Chile, honestly, I don't know if Chile has that assistance. They probably do, but only it's probably really expensive. It's certainly not provided by the state, and access is probably limited. So if I don't live in an urban area like Santiago, I may not have access to that at all. So that could be extreme and unusual hardship. If you have any questions, put them down below. Subscribe to our channel. If there's a subject you want us to talk about in the future, put it in the comments. We review it, and maybe we'll talk about it in the weeks to come.